Morning, this is Martin Drummond with Progressive Democratic Party Headquarters News. It's Saturday, March 2nd, 2019. And here just to point something out, as usual.
Because it's aspirational, but he feels that getting to our goals cannot be reached by 2030, as outlined in Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. He sets a timeline for 2045, including running the state's electrical reserves fully in renewable power. He put forth a carbon tax.
Okay. I just wanted to point out that a lot of people think that they can make points politically in debates or whatever by saying that the other person is unrealistic. In this case, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right? And this is Inslee, somebody I never heard of and probably never should have heard of. And this is Paradigm Shift. Something I'm checking out. So far it hasn't really panned out. It's not giving me any information that I don't get anywhere else. But I'll continue to watch it. It is progressively oriented, but he tries to straddle the fence all the time. So I'm just not really too impressed with him so far. So you get these people constantly. I mean, like I said, I watched this whole thing, and this is about the only thing that I got out of it, and it's because he didn't point it out. So you get these people who constantly, I'm constantly seeing these things where people say, either from all the way on the right, people saying, well, socialism is unrealistic, free education is unrealistic, even though we have it. And when I grew up in California, you could go to at least junior colleges for 2 years, and you could stay there forever if you really wanted to. The only problem with those schools was they were in certain districts, and at the time they were all white. Don't ask me why, but I went to Foothill College, which is in Silicon Valley in the Bay Area, and I barely saw a black person the whole time I was there. So a lot of times they build these, or they used to build these, and if a black person wanted, I guess they went, I don't know, Kenyatta College or De Anza or somewhere, right, if you were Hispanic or black or something. But this is a long time ago, and I doubt that it's, I imagine that they've had to change the rules, because the rules said you had to be within a certain area of the college to go there. Even I broke that rule. Of course, they looked the other way because I'm white. Matter of fact, they probably didn't even look at me because I was white, right? Okay, so anyway, I won't get into that right now. I won't get into how if we have free health care, the government will try to make sure whites get it and blacks don't, and stuff like that. And it'll be harder to do, but they did it when we were kids. Man, I went to a public elementary school. Wasn't a black person in there, and we were in San Jose. Plenty of black people living in San Jose, but we had all white schools. Alright, anyway, so the point is that all these people say things are unrealistic. Well, so the fuck what, right? So the fuck what? Who cares if it's unrealistic? They're not asking for you to build a pie in the sky, a piece of pie that floats in the air. They're asking for universal health care. They're asking, well, in this case, they're asking for companies to stop polluting and destroying our Earth. right? Something that we've been dealing with since I was a kid. And I'm going to tell this to everybody the same way I tell all my friends, is that, you know, I'm sure that climate change and global warming and CO2 is all real. I don't care if it's really going to cause climate change or global warming. I'm sure it's going to cause global warming. I don't care, because you know what? We've been trying to get these assholes who own these companies to stop poisoning people and killing people, and instead they run around and pay off politicians to make sure that nobody can sue them. I mean, the thing's totally unbalanced, so I don't really care. You know, if somebody like Trump would say, well, I don't know, climate change is real or not, you know, fuck these idiots. Who cares what they think? We're the guys. We the people, not you the asshole. We're the ones who decide whether you're poisoning people and stuff. If they want to decide if somebody's poisoning somebody with their, how do they do it? They get a jury together, right? Well, even though that's a bullshit deal in a capitalist society, as I found out when I went to jail for something I didn't do because 6 assholes decided I was guilty of something that I didn't do. I mean, they claimed that I threatened to blow up or shoot up the food stamp offices. Something I didn't do and would never really do for real. I don't care how bad they pissed me off, or if they took away my food stamps or whatever. It's just not in the cards. So juries are a joke now too. I mean, juries don't work. Alright, I'll explain that sometime. I'm sure, probably over and over again. But it's stupid to say that, you know, attempting to get climate change stuff is unrealistic, or anything that they say is unrealistic. And then this guy, he's saying, oh no, we can't do it by 2030, we have to do it by 2045. And that's especially stupid, because who cares, right? Who the fuck cares? I mean, if we try and do it by 2035, and it turns out it doesn't work out, we couldn't do it, and we end up putting it off till 2045 or 2050 or whatever, who cares? Who gives a fuck? You know? Nobody. It's stupid. The real question here is taking steps in the direction of cleaning up our excuse me, our environment. I mean, are we doing the right thing or not? It doesn't matter whether it's 2035 or 2045 or 2050. That just is not the issue. It doesn't even matter if it turns out to be totally unrealistic, something we can't achieve. While we're trying, we're going to find out what we can achieve. Obviously, if you end up killing more people than you end up saving in your attempt, then we turn around and look at that and say, okay, well, we need to back off and work different angles and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this isn't, I mean, sure, at some level it is brain surgery and rocket science, but it isn't brain surgery and rocket science to say, well, people are dying out there. Like, they've got lung conditions all over the United States because they're breathing diesel fumes from trucks driving right outside their door, or any of that stuff. I mean, there's just tons and tons of ways that we know the polluters are polluting. So it doesn't matter whether you say, let's try and nail them by 2025, 2035, 24. The main thing is, you say you're trying to nail them. You do need to try and nail them. I mean, I've seen report after report after report, each on different things, saying that these people are doing this and those people are doing that, and they're killing people or they're hurting people. And so I know there's a problem. Problem is our government doesn't do anything to verify these things and then to do something about them. So, like, I'm sure people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and people like me would insist that we put together panels of scientists and researchers and investigators to go out and decide just exactly who's screwing around. And then, I mean, if we had to, then we could try them. Now, we get back to the jury part. People are notoriously stupid. I mean, my lawyer and I read that prosecutors depend on stupid juries to get their prosecutions. You know, successful prosecutions. So, I think that we should have professional jurors. I'm sure that other people agree with me and that this has been covered and looked into by the legal profession. So that's my opinion on that. But we need a system that puts the proper resources together to tackle the problems. So it doesn't matter whether they come to the conclusion that they can do it by 2050, 2060. The first conclusion they should come to, and it shouldn't be paid for by Monsanto or something, right? Obviously. It should be vetted. Everything should be vetted in politics. I would think that would be obvious. And I'm not saying that it should be unbiased, because if you're trying to prove that Cheerios cereal is dumping poison into the Ohio River or something like that, then you should be going in with that assumption, trying to prove that. Not saying they shouldn't. Obviously, you would have a defense and let them chips fall where they may. But okay, so I'm finishing here. So just go back to the main point. This is silly. I see it all the time. It's a stupid way of trying to cut down trying to win your election. Saying what the other person says is unrealistic when it's something important. Doesn't matter if it's unrealistic. If it's important, it's important. If climate change is an issue, if pollution is an issue, if education is an issue, if healthcare is an issue, doesn't matter how unrealistic it is. I mean, the main point here is that they're trying to do nothing about it, and we're trying to do everything about it. Let us try and do everything about it and see what happens. Don't you think there's a reason that the right wing and the Republicans, the conservatives, don't want us to try? They haven't let us try. They've never let us try. They have, but they pretend like they haven't, because we do have free college in some places, and we know it works. We know it works. So, but they don't want America to think that we've ever even tried it and succeeded, because then they'd be wrong, right? So to the rest of America, where they don't have free education, they make it look like we don't have. Americans don't know about anything that works. I mean, if you go out there, you can go out there and find dirt poor people who qualify for food stamps by the thousands, probably by millions, and you'll find out that they don't know that they can get food stamps. Well, do you really think that that's a coincidence? No, it's keeping people dumb. And it's the same thing with free education. They're not going to tell them that, in the Bay Area, blacks can go to Kenyatta College and what have you. You know, they're not going to tell them that. They're not going to let them know that. Because they don't want them to know that it's a successful. They're not going to tell poor people that in Holland all drugs are legal, you know, heroin, what have you, and that it's worked out great. They're not going to tell them that in Iceland even maximum security type prisoners, like murderers, are kept in an open facility where they have a house and they just come and go as they wish. Why? Because it works. Those people never repeat their crimes. They're not going to talk about all the success. They're not going to talk about how Germany handles guns, or other places handle anything. They're not going to talk about it. They don't want them to know. And I know because I've talked to the poorest of the poor and the absolute dregs of society, what people call dregs of society. Now, a little aside here, I'll let you know, they're the best people we have. People who steal from Walmart are the only people who will stand up to the system and put their life on the line. Most of them end up in jail, and they know they're going to end up in jail. You know, they try and get away with it for as long as they can, but the truth is there's a civil war going on in this country. It's called crime. I've met these criminals. I've met all these criminals. I mean, not all of them, but I've met all kinds. Like, I've met the drug addicts. I've met the drug dealers. I've met the people who steal. I've met tons of people who go to prison, even though they didn't really do anything. Not anything much. I mean, like maybe somebody bought a car off of Craigslist and then got caught driving it. Turned out it was stolen. And I know all the arguments against it, but the fact is it doesn't work, and the fact is these people are standing up to a system that is criminally insane. That's why we have mass incarceration, and that's why mass incarceration doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, these people go right back out to the same situation, and they're just as angry as they were when they went in. Okay. Anyway, this is Martin Drummond for Progressive Democratic Party's Headquarters News, and thanks for listening.